Welcome to another episode, or should I say, welcome to season 2. We're back on track again on another great show with my colleague and also co-founder for the podcast, Ahmed. Welcome along.
Welcome, Yaman. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It was a great summer. I guess summer is over now since we're back.
Yes, man. We wanted to take a break through the summer so we can recollect ourselves, put all the ideas, all the guests, all the beautiful things we want to talk about in perspective, and come back stronger, bigger with new things to do.
These are the keywords that I've been using lately: mentally stronger, better, important. What's the word? Re-enhance. These are all the keywords that I've been really thinking about lately. So today's episode is about why podcast, and I really thought I chose this topic because a lot of people throughout the first season were asking us, what is the podcast, and what do you aim for it, and why did you even start a podcast? These are a lot of questions that me and Ahmed are going to talk about today, and we're going to explain the reasons why me and him actually got together and also started off iHeart podcast. But before we get to that, we wanted to say also welcome to Elizabeth. She's joining the team. She's going to be co-hosting with us. She couldn't make it today because she's sick, and we wish you, inshallah, get better. So, why podcast, Mr. Podcast?
So me and Ahmed were going around the city, meeting all new people every day, going all new places every day, and we have those great conversations that we sometimes wish that people can hear us. A lot of people have a lot of interesting things to share. They are doing a lot of interesting things in their lives, and it's really missing the opportunity for somebody just to look at them in a natural way, in a very human, interactive way. So that's why a podcast was a great idea to establish, because podcast is all about it's a free platform. People can talk about whatever they want. There is no need for pre-production or pre-scripting.
Yeah.
Just have a natural, positive, human-like conversation with everybody.
The natural vibe that we miss, and mainstream media somehow tends to make it perfect, and we're basically not perfect. We're giving you a real deal kind of talk, right?
Yes.
Even in a messy room. Usually, it's a trend that started off in North America, where people be sitting on couches or little living rooms with really long mics and just have their foot on the coffee table, and they're talking about.
And having a really great conversation. And
It's
that's
true.
what we are trying to do right here.
It's all about the conversation, actually. It's all about the depth and the quality of the conversation.
And that's what you can find with a lot of people who we are hosting or we are going to host in this podcast. That's why we came up with the name iHeart Doha, just to try to contain all the interesting people, all the interesting things that are happening, all the ideas that is happening in the country, so that we can have this audience to this great content that we are establishing here.
Because actually, before we started the podcast, you know what? I felt like I needed a place where I can talk. I felt like I want to meet new people. And somehow, social media made a very big change in people's lives. I believe that social media is putting somehow the power in the hand of the common man, where you choose what you want to watch, you choose who you want to follow, you choose the lifestyle that basically suits your mental state. Previously, mainstream TV would only just bring stuff. You might not like it, but you're forced to watch it. I'm sitting there and I'm watching all these movies. I don't like any of these movies, but now you got Netflix, you got all these online, so you choose what you want.
And the extra thing that you have the opportunity to engage.
Exactly.
You cannot engage with the TV, but you can engage with all the social media.
You're engaging with the person next to you. You get mad because.
Imagine that you can call the news anchor and tell him I want to be on the show. You cannot do that, but you can do that with iHeart Doha.
You can definitely do that actually through you can DM us or send us an email on iHeartDoha.podcast@gmail.com. We'll be happy to have you on the show. Of course, you got to just tell us more about you on the email and why you want to join or why you want to be on the show. And from there on, things will just kick off easily. But away from these practicalities, I remember, you and me, one day we sat down and he kept ringing in my ear telling me, why don't we start a podcast? I didn't even know what a podcast means. And I was just telling him, yeah, sure. And I would just, let him talk and just ignore him afterwards. Throughout my, college life, I felt a bit down and I felt like I need some motivation in my life. And I wasn't really a fan of those extra positive perfectionist sellers, you know what I mean? The people that would just sit there and tell you how perfect and beautiful life is. It just never clicked with my mental still. I felt like I want to bring life as raw as it is, whether it's sad, whether it's happy, whether it's depressing. And we tackle these issues, and if there is no issue, we talk about the positive part that you're going
Yes, being raw, being natural, it's a good therapy for you.
It
Having a
is.
good conversation, engage with people, learn new things, get new perspectives. It's all about bringing back this dose of positivity, dose of raw interaction, no pre-scripting,
Yeah.
just to have a good conversation with the people, bring out new things that you really don't know it exists in the city. And we have an opportunity to have great time in season one.
Yeah,
What was your favorite interview or podcast in season one?
to be honest, I kind of like them all, majority, but I felt really connected with Anahi actually. Because Anahi somehow shared the same political mindset that I share. So she related a lot to a lot of the contemporary matters that I'm somehow wishing to tackle in society. Feminism and equality and all of that. So hopefully we're going to have more shows with her down the road. We're going to tackle a lot of contemporary matters. She's a very smart woman, very educated, and we need a lot of those in our times. People to help us tackle most of the issues that I believe mainstream media is not really doing.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who are doing a great movement into helping others.
Truly,
Like health and wellness, life coaching, also women-related matters.
Because you know what, I used to tell a couple of people that I was with yesterday, we're a new, if you look at the region, we're a new region, and with this new existence comes a lot of issues, a lot of matters that we need to understand. For example, whether happiness, whether the idea of relationship between man and women, modernization, and also conservatism. So these are all great matters that we need to understand. How are we going to live by them? Whether are we going to be too modern, or are we going to be too cultural, or are we going to be in the middle? We don't sometimes aim to tell you what is right, what is wrong, but we aim to talk the talk, and hoping that we get something out of it, whether from the host, whether from the guest, whether from the cameraman, because it's all about opinions. It's all about people sharing thoughts, right? Because you just back in the day, mainstream media you'd have a little fancy dressed host who's sitting there wearing a little Ralph Lauren suit and would just tell you how perfect life is and how he's well more educated, how he's well knowledgeable, and he tells you what to do. That's not what we're
Yeah, and he's telling you what is the right from wrong. And we are here just to engage, tell people what we think, give them a chance to join the conversation.
Exactly. I was actually hiding it from that. But yeah, give people a chance to actually share their thoughts, because you could find a lot of knowledge in the hands of a musician, hands of a yogi, for example. Because when you bring all this, mix it up together, you can actually get a chance to choose what is right for you, what is wrong, and debate.
And that's one of the great surprises we had in iHeart Doha when we first started. So we were doing a test, and I told Ahmed, I will be behind the camera, and please bring a friend of you for a pilot episode. And he's telling me, yeah, I have this great friend, she's amazing, I had this great conversation with her, and then he's showing me her Instagram profile, and I was like, man, you're hosting a makeup artist, man? So I was like, okay, we'll bring her to the show. And then the surprise that behind this great profile that is only dedicated for fitness and makeup, we found out a great personality that has a great conversation.
Yeah, which is
And-
Rufeda, actually. Big
Yes.
shout outs to Rufeda. She was one of the first people to ever join the show and to come and give us the time to talk.
And we had a great perspective with her.
It's really good.
And that's what you kind of miss from scrolling down Instagram, just looking at people who are having a great content, but you are missing the personality behind this. And this is what I Heart Doha is all about, bringing you the personalities that you maybe see on Instagram, but bring it in a raw, deep, human conversation that you gives you the chance to discover a lot about people, a lot of interesting, beautiful things about people.
Exactly. And one of my actual favorite episodes was Rufeda, since you reminded me, because I've discovered a part with her that somehow wasn't shown in real life.
Yes.
But then when you get people on the little raw table talk, have a table, you let people actually share their thoughts and mentality.
Yes, there is something weird about microphones, man.
They make people emotional.
Yes.
Microphones really do make people emotional.
Yes.
And I'm getting emotional right now, but I will try to control my emotions because it's season 2, and I never thought that I would be back.
Yes. Oh,
I never thought that I would make it through season 1, but I did.
You can have a conversation with a person in a cafe, in a living room, but once you put a microphone and a headphones, you see a different person.
You see,
And this really like stage experience was great for me back in the days. And it's really, I'm having this back, you know, the rush, the adrenaline that you have lights and a microphone and you have to talk and you have to perform.
And this is the beauty of social media. Every person can actually, if they just push themselves a bit, can create that platform where they can share their thoughts. Not necessarily the same, but if you want to share your thoughts with the world, you can. This phone is really powerful. The phone that you're holding in your hand is actually bigger than you think.
Yes, and people were talking a lot lately on social media about how it's bad for you, how we can, why Instagram is a tool for depression, and it's actually true, you know. But when you give yourself the chance to express, to engage in a healthy manner, it can be a very healthy tool. The other day there was an interview with Elon Musk, you know, the space guy who's going to Mars.
No, I don't follow these things.
Oh,
that's why you're always my muse when it comes to these things.
You know, if you watch a movie and there is a villain who wants to go to space and he's a billionaire, there is a real person called Elon Musk who's doing those things.
So he's a billionaire who wants to go to space.
Yes.
You got a lot of money. Why don't you just pass it this way?
Why don't you collaborate with
Collaborate with us and send me some of that to my way.
Yeah, and he says why he quit social media because he was showing a too perfect image of himself on social media that, and in the backstage that he feels depressed, and he says, I always used to look for the best image, for the best filter for me to look good, and then I post it and I feel bad about myself. I look at other people posting beautiful things with great captions and I see that, oh, they are happier than me. And then I feel...
It's those people that stand on top of a cliff and write a major paragraph.
all the motivational things. And
the
he
ones,
says...
the skinny ones with the skinny girlfriends. God damn.
Yes, and he says, I see other people having a perfect life. And then I feel more depressed about
They really have a perfect life. What is a perfect life anyways? Perfection is also imperfection. The idea of existence is for you to tackle happiness and also, sadness. You're not meant to be happy all the time. You're not. And you're not meant to be sad all the time. Basically, you're meant to be strong and appreciate the happy times and also be strong through the depressed times, the sad times.
Yes, while you are growing up in age and we are getting lost in crowd, we forget about things that really meant. We forget about the weekend, how it's important to you to recharge.
You're not supposed to have a crazy weekend.
Yes, you're not supposed to have a great week, and you're supposed to have a quality day every day. And
Exactly. Don't live for the weekend. Remember, we said that on
one old podcast we have.
I got a lot. Well, thank you, Ms. Rudy, for this message. She said that thick women is the only way to go. So, well, absolutely true. But we keep it absolutely 100 heaven. But like we said, what was it? You were saying?
Yeah, about we forget and we get lost in the crowd while we're growing up, and we forget about recharging ourselves with positivity.
True.
We come back complaining for whatever is happening through the day. We are having a negative influence on other people, and our social relationships become a little bit weaker by time. And people are not watching the process. Why, after you get a job and you get married, why you are losing friends?
Yeah,
The
you
problem,
do lose a friend, a lot of friends.
yeah, because I think when life gets hard, people meet their friends and they complain much about life. So,
Yeah.
and there is a natural reaction with people that they tend to push negativity, and then they will start saying not wanting to see that other friend, and
Yeah.
and really social relations. So just to be conscious about what's happening to you, be positive about how you express it.
Yeah.
There is nothing wrong to tell people that you're not doing okay. Just find this circle in your life, people who you really trust, and you open up to them.
You know what's the issue? Similar to what you were saying, a lot of people, they try to maintain a perfect image, like you said, and it's so hard to maintain a perfect image. It's that when they can't manage it, they actually go depressed. You know, it's not easy for you to be well dressed all the time. It's not easy for you to have money all the time. It's not easy for you to afford going to nice restaurants all the time. And people focus on these things so much. When they can't have the ability to do it, they actually go sad, and then they start, searching every little political ideology or theory why their life is absolutely bought. It's Marxism, it's capitalism. I blame, the uppity class for this, and ta 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 ta. They go all crazy on it. But to be honest, you should every little moment in your existence is considered to be a little quality moment. I tell that myself most of the day, and I'm not actually a very happy person. I'm technically grumpy 70% of the day. I'm not necessarily depressed. But actually, if you give me a call, you'd be like, "Hey, you want to do this? I'll get on the shit and let's do it." But I try to do everything to tackle the sadness. For example, I got a pet. A lot of people laugh and they tell me, "Why would you get a pet?" I'm like, "Why wouldn't I? I love animals." I tried different kind of animals. I tried doing different things. I drank Pepsi, for example. That was a horrible experience. But I mean, you can try all these new things.
Yes, it's all about being self-conscious about your mood. So if you're having a bad mood, just try to ask yourself. This is what I learned from the life coaches.
Yeah.
Just try to ask yourself, being self-conscious about why you're angry or why you're depressed is very important tool for you how to tackle it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're angry and you don't have a reason. Sometimes you're feeling bad because you are low on energy, you are low on sugar, you are low on water, and then you don't know why you're depressed.
Or you listen to a sad song by Ed Sheeran, for example.
Yes.
It really could mess you up. A lot of
Yes.
people say the music you listen to helps build
Yes.
up your mood throughout.
Yeah, just being self-conscious about, am I happy right now? Yeah, I'm happy, so just live it. Or am I sad right now? Then ask yourself, why am I sad?
You know what I hate the most is that society also is so pressured on the idea of happiness that the road to happiness became depressing. You know what I mean?
Yes,
The truth.
Yes.
It's like
Yeah.
they pressure you so much to achieve something that the road to achievement is actually depressing. Don't listen to what they preach. You're not here to actually prove anything to anyone. You're not here to make anyone proud of you. You're here for your own existence. When you die, you're going to die alone, and if you live, you're most likely going to live through ups and downs by yourself. You know what I mean? So focus on yourself, love yourself, but that doesn't mean also neglect the help of others. Don't neglect friendships. Don't neglect every little details matter. If you're going to grab coffee with people, that's happiness, right there.
That's happiness.
Having someone to call you at night and be like, "Hey, you want to hang out?" That's happiness. If you don't, you got a nice little bed and then you're watching TV. That's happiness. You're comfortable.
Yes, and you mentioned a very important thing that when people are falling into public expectations. You're expected to have this great car, this great job, to be happy, this great...
It's structured.
Yeah, to
I'm
be
going to go to
structured.
uni, and after uni, I'm going to be.
Yes, and then if you don't have it, you look for a way to justify it. Like, I don't have this job because they don't like me, and the liberal societies and those theories about why things are not working out. Yeah. Just be self-conscious about your mood, why you're angry, why you're depressed, and really sometimes you will figure out that your mood is messed up because the weather is not good.
Yeah.
Or
True.
you haven't had a good lunch, or you haven't had a good sleep.
True.
Or maybe it's really important because what you really produce to the circle around you is what you get. Relationships are like mirrors.
Yeah.
If you are out there having fun with people, if there is when you want to have fun, sometimes you call the same person. who you always go to the movies with. Because once you think about movies, you think about the person. And you will have relationships that are related to depression. Once you wanted to complain, you will call the complainer and meet them, and you will have a session of depression and complain about life.
I got a lot of those actually.
Yes, and this is what reflection, and it's really bad, you know. Just have your regular dose of complaining, of expressing, but really have a processed or a regular way to tackle it, you know. Things that you can change now, change them. Things that you can change in the long term, have a structured, have steps for you so that you can feel positive about in the future, because people are depressed about the future. People are depressed about the expectations. Am I going to achieve this by this time or not? But if you are walking the
there's
line,
so many expectations, like you said, there's so many expectations. We expect to graduate, find this. We expect to get a job and get paid this much. We expect the minute you finish university to find this perfect woman that's probably going to accept all your flaws and imperfections and probably going to listen to everything you say, but most likely, no, you're not. And these are the reasons you're actually going to get depressed. You know what I mean? And I remember I was watching this video by a little YouTube thinker, Instagrammer actually, and he was talking about WHO, and he was saying that depression is going to be the number one disease by 2020, and it's going to tackle economical growth, and it's going to be the block for economical growth. And it made a lot of sense because if you look at the youth nowadays, there's a wave of sadness, there's a wave of depression kicking in. Each to its own privacy, each have their own reasons. But for example, from the Middle East, if you go to the Western society, each one has their own reason. But if we're going to focus more on our region, for example, or our issues, I think it's the lack of freedom, the lack of depression, the lack of the ability for them to come and share their thoughts, come and talk, sketch how they want, play the music they want, because they find a lot of pressure from society. For example, you get a little kid who wants to be a musician, you'd find a lot of block from his parents. They'd be like, "You can't be a musician. You can't be shameful.
You're not gonna make it.
You're not gonna.
Who you think you are? You know."
Exactly. There's always, and they understand because if you look at it now, we come from conservative societies, and conservative is always anti-development, or they like the wave that they're in. You know, I mean, they don't want to have a higher wave. So if you bring in something new to the table, it would always be looked at as a negative thing. And the younger generation is not, because the younger generation has a phone in their hand. And when you have a phone in your hand, I just go on the search engine, I can find myself in Peru or America, and I see a kid who's my age doing what I'm doing, and that's the reason for me to be depressed. I'm like, see, he's doing it. Why can't I do it? You know what I mean? It's the comparison, it's the lack of freedom, it's all of these things in one piled up. So when they pile up,
people get to explode.
They get to explode. And for example, yesterday I was sitting with a friend of mine. He's a doctor, right? And he told me, I bought this ticket and I went to Sudan. And when I went there, I didn't like it. I was like, why not? He's like, well, it's rain season and the infrastructure is bad, and the political, economical situation is absolutely horrendous. So I saw the people struggling, and the expectation of a great holiday just
was really ruined.
Yeah, it just got evaporated the minute I landed.
Yeah, people need to look very good.
I was like, well, you know that. You're going to Sudan, honey. You know what I mean? So, in the situation it's going through right now, it's not like you're going to Bali, right? If you wanted that, you could have just got a ticket and went to Bali. That's why I was used to telling parents, I'm not going there, because right now it's not a good time for Sudan. I know what I'm expecting.
And you really, when you go into a vacation, just think of yourself. What do you want from this vacation? If you want to feel good about it, if you want to just relax, you can do that, and you really can choose where you go and what the activities you do. People want to relax, and you go. People who want to relax and just reset, sometimes they find themselves in the middle of a busy city and they are not meeting that goal.
Yeah. And by the way, these are one of the reasons why we actually started this podcast, because we wanted to have a platform where we can talk to others talk to us, we share thoughts, we exchange knowledge, and we help each other grow. We inspire you, you inspire us eventually, because we are a growing society. We want to be better. We want to understand each other. We want to understand ourselves. And whether you're from any kind of background, whether you're a musician, whether you're an academic, whether you're a fashion designer, whatever you are, that you have something positive to share with the world. I mean, that's something great. This is your platform. This is your table. You get in touch with us, and we'll rock on from there.
Yes. So we're gonna be talking about a lot of people. So the other day, a friend suggested me a writer. His name is Fyodor Dostoevsky.
Okay.
You know, it took me a lot of while to practice
Memorize
the
the
name.
name.
To practice the name.
Yeah, you got lost in many sort of words.
Yeah, this guy is very dark, is very sophisticated into writing his novels, and he's really real, and he digs deep into the human structure.
World War II.
Yes, I think, yeah, after World War II, when communism was hitting the.
He's a Russian writer.
Yes, he's a Russian writer, and he was saying in one of his books, because I was reading summaries of the books and reviews, the book called The Idiot. And it's a very strong game about an idiot who was always thinking that if I do this one thing in my life, or if this one thing was happening, or if this one thing wasn't happening, then I will be happy. So he was tackling one thing at a time, and each time he achieves that one thing, he figures out a new other things that he needs to do in order to be happy. And he's in this continuous process of depression, saying that he will not be happy until something is done in his life. And then he never achieves it, and that's why he's an idiot. He's talking about why human beings are addicted. There's an addiction, there's a relationship between human addiction of depression. People feel that, talking about why human beings sometimes are addicted to exchange and generate reasons to be not happy. And that was a very interesting perspective to bring. You know, it's very dark in breaking down the human emotions, and that was a great.
He's a great novelist, actually. I think he's a novelist.
Yes.
Yeah, because I did hear his name a lot due to my political studies. We had a lot of students, and they really did recommend him. Some of them said they actually want to leave him as a little vacation read. Even though it's a bit dark, I was like, oh, you want to depress yourself while you're flying. He's like, no, it just depends how you expect it. And speaking of books, we were actually planning to do a weekly recommendation of authors' books throughout the show, just to help people or empower people or give them the ability to read more. For example, you don't know what to read. What is out there in the market? You don't want to end up with a commercial book that's not going to fit your expectations. So we're going to go through a wide variety of good recommendations from readers, writers, and inshallah we'll do it throughout a weekly basis.
So what have you been reading lately?
I've been reading something called The Escape to My Freedom, and it's written by Ali Begovic. If you say it in English, it would be Elijah Begovic, actually. He wrote this book while he was in prison. It's not really a book, but it's more of thoughts all gathered up in one book. And he talked about the idea of existence, from morals to justice to art to politics to Islam. One of his most famous books was The Islam Between the West and the East. It talks about the idea, the dualism of existence between secularism and spirituality, and Islam and Judaism, and also Christianity and the left wing, or the leftists basically, or the secular preachers, you know what I mean? People that don't believe in religion in general. It's a very interesting book. He's an Islamic philosopher, thinker, and also a previous jihadist, I believe. He passed away. R.I.P. to him. This book is really inspiring, Escape to My Freedom, and he has something called life tragedy. And this life tragedy basically means without good, there is no evil. Without evil, there is no good. And both of them are completing each other. We live in a circle of a complete circle with these two. And the idea of existence is not for you to be sad or for you to be happy, but it's for you to understand that this is how life is meant to be. Because if you were in a constant state of evil, you would be depressed. And if you were in a constant state of happiness, you will eventually get bored and be depressed. So waving between these two make the human appreciate both of them. Both are actually there to educate you, both are there for stronger, be better. And so many great thoughts. He even actually talked about basically his thoughts, and so many great novels, um, especially Dickens and 1984, I believe, by George, what's his name? George Galloway, I believe. Not Galloway. George Orwell, actually, 1984, The Farm. And he goes through a lot of novels throughout those. It helped me a lot because somehow when you're growing up, you want to understand a lot of things about life, and not every answer can be found by your parents.
Yes.
Not every answer can be found throughout your friends or school, even university. If you go to university, you're not really going to come out of there knowing everything. You're actually going to come out with a lot of questions. And I think this is what the university is. It just helps you ask the right question, not really find answers.
Yes, sometimes you don't find the knowledge or the things that you need for the moment in the regular places that you seek knowledge from people who you talk to. And sometimes you need to check podcasts sometimes.
You do, and that's the beauty of it. And sometimes you actually just learn from any kind of person you meet. I was having a great conversation with a waiter yesterday, and he told me he was an economist. And we talked about it. He knows so much better than economy than I did, because I'm not really an economist kind of person. And a lot of people would say, really, a waiter? I'm like, yeah. Because a lot of people don't have the privilege to get a great job, but yet again, they could actually have degrees. And he was absolutely fine. He was like, true, I'm working as a waiter right now, even though I have a master's in economy. But it's a phase in my life, and this phase will eventually.
Will end. Yeah. He's staying positive about himself.
And even staying positive, you shouldn't be positive all the time. You could actually be negative throughout this positive journey, right?
Yes, so I think we are going to the final thoughts of our live session today.
Yeah.
Stay tuned to find us soon on iHeart Podcast. Please drop us a DM, email us if you want to be part of the conversation.
It's a weekly show, and throughout the week, we're also going to be doing live episodes. It's a new thing we're adding to the show. We're going to be interviewing either previous guests or anyone. We're going to talk about contemporary matters, whether movies, films, writers,
books, events, new people, new ideas.
Interest the public. So get in touch with us. Have a great weekend. Don't forget Saturday from 1 to 2 p.m.
And we will update you with everything beautiful happening.
And we want to thank also everyone that joined us in for the season, first season. I want to say thank you for adding your flavor to the show. Also, we want to thank the team, the videographers, the editors. They played a major role in season 1. And inshallah, in season 2, we'll be back again, stronger, better, as we are better.
All right, thank you, man.
Take care.
See you again.
Good to see you in a long time.